Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Invest Power Stories today. Excited about being able to share and continue my own journey. So this time, after all the Woodridge property that's settled, and today I want to continue talking about moving on to my third investment in Queensland, which today I'm going to be uncovering the one that's in Moreton Bay. So the only purchase I made in Moreton Bay and the only one that really isn't in Logan, I should put it that way. So how did I land this deal? How did I come across Moreton Bay? I'll get it uncovered here. So, like what I've said before, after I had a taste of Logan in terms of the possible cash flow deal that it can give me, which is fantastic. But, at the end of the day, you still want residential properties to grow. That's the main thing. As I said before, when I was purchasing my Logan properties, I tried to find a balance, and it's very, very difficult because, I had both Slacks Creek and Woodridge property being very, very cash flow positive, or, they're giving me like roughly 7% or 6.5 gross rental return yield plus. But having said that, I look at demographics, I know it's not going to be something that's going to be having good capital growth play. So the next one, which is when I was at that point in time, I was thinking to myself, where in Queensland or Brisbane can I find something that's going to maximize my chance of capital growth? And that's how I got my eye set on Moreton Bay. Because at that time, there's a couple of reasons. One is the Moreton Bay rail is just started to getting ready. It's almost up and operational. So that was a line going from Petrie all the way to Kippa-Ring. So that was the new train line that got extended to the Redcliffe Peninsula. And then from that point onwards, also the possible news of Petrie Paper Mill, which is now get turned into University of Sunshine Coast. That's also around the time when it actually had that first news coming out to say there's a potential that the paper mill could turn into the new Petrie campus of USC, University of Sunshine Coast. So combining those factors, and then also, there's the North Lake Westfield, which is newly built around that time. There's Bunnings, there's IKEA, all around the North Lakes area. There's train station with a possible university that's coming up. Those are the reasons why I think this is going to be my next research destination. So this time I want to make this property a very different play to the last two that I bought in Logan. And the main reason for that is I want to ensure this is a capital growth player in my portfolio. So the selection criteria is very different. This time, not so much about the yield, not just purely on the paper gross rental yield, but the importance here is on the location. It's all about the location in terms of what I can do and where the property is located. And in this case, I've identified the two major key components in terms of why I want to invest in Moreton Bay. One, which is the new train line. So I want to be as close to the train line as possible. And two, I want to ensure it's as close to the new university as much as possible as well. So based on those criteria, that kind of limits down the range of research I had to do. Obviously, there's Petrie by itself, but Petrie at that time is already quite expensive because of the news that there's going to be the new university just at the Petrie paper mill site, which is literally next to the Petrie station. So as you can imagine, within 1 kilometer radius of the Petrie station, it goes way up. And land just goes, it just booms like crazy. So I then look at the surrounding suburbs, the likes of Kalanga, which got great potential, low entry price, decent rental return, definitely one of the areas that I looked at very, very closely. And also Murrumba Downs, because there's a train station, which is Kalanga train station, which is why it's situated in Murrumba Downs. That's beyond me. But anyway, that does have one of the train lines. And that's why I thought my target areas was either going to be around, ideally within 2 kilometers of the university site. So that kind of limits the radius to Kalanga and Murrumba Downs and also part of Petrie to an extent. and also ideally within about 500 to 1 kilometer walking distance to the new train line. So coupling these two things, really, want to be as close to Petrie Station as possible, ideally within 2 kilometers, and also within 500 to 1 kilometer of the train station. That's why when you draw a line, or when you draw a circle from Petrie University site, 2 kilometers, plus the actual train station. So, after Petrie, it's actually the Clanger station. If you draw like within 1 kilometer radius, the area that overlaps is essentially my research area. So this one is very, very targeted. And that's how I arrive at the property that I bought for Murrumba Downs. So once the search criteria is being refined to that level, as you can imagine, it's actually not that difficult to find properties because there's only so much properties that's going to be overlapping in those two search criteria. And on top of that, I've got my budget set to be around the $350,000 range. I don't want to go way too much. I don't want to be jumping into Petrie, having $400,000 or $450,000, having a gross rental return of about 4%. I still want to keep some level of yield of rental return because I had such a good taste of what Logan can give me from cash flow perspective. So on that basis, I want to ensure that the purchase price is around the $300,000 to $350,000 mark. And therefore, the area or the properties that's within that range, within those two overlap areas, and also within $300,000 to $350,000, which can give me potentially a 5% gross rental return plus, and sitting on a 600 square meter block of land is essentially my target. So, and that's what I've been searching. And so once I was able to filter down, I was able to laser beam focus in terms of those overlap areas and just basically look out for properties that are coming up within those sections. So after a couple months of, searching and online searching, I actually found two, and the property was actually on top of Anzac Parade. That's one of them. And the other property is the one that I bought at Murrumba Downs, which is literally about 500 meters, 400 to 500 meters walking distance to the new Clanger train station.